Item 2 is communication from Caleb Dobbins, Highway Chief Engineer, requesting approval of the following parking ordinance changes, providing for a lane reduction in addition of a bike lane on Pine Street from Bridge Street to Webster Street.
Alderman Morgan?
Discussion?
Yep. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So what I'd like to see happen here is put together some kind of a, Caleb, if you want to come up, thank you. So put together some kind of working group that we can, with some city stakeholders such as DPW, of course, MEDU, and planning, and so that we can finally make a decision for the city that we're moving forward with bike lanes. And so that we're in a position where we can, really support it if the city wants it. So what I'd like to do is table this, put this group together, have the presentation, because I think in 2000, correct me if I'm wrong, but 2016 was the last bike lane study. Is that
So
right?
2019
19, okay.
was when the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approved, as streets got repaved for Beach, Chestnut, Pine, and Maple, for the inclusion of the bike lanes, and that was just from Bridge to Webster Street.
Okay. So it seems like we're just piecemealing the streets here, one here, one there, instead of really having a full plan where we can kind of put it together. And that's kind of what the gist of what I'm talking about is kind of, we want to do this, we should support it and really put a plan together.
Alderman Berry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Caleb, how have they been working out? Has anyone gotten killed, hurt? Any bites? Anyone using the bike lanes right now?
So I know the biking community, and not to speak for them, certainly appreciate the dedicated bike lanes versus the sharrows that are out there. So the city has a kind of a combination. If you can think of it as almost a three-tiered scenario where you have like the rail trails that are completely separated, all together, safe for everyone to be using. Then there's the dedicated bike lanes that this would be, where the bike has the right of way on that section, and then there's the sharrow where the motorist and the bicycle are supposed to, exist together, with more of an awareness that a bicycle is going to be used there. I do know that some studies have been looked at for the bike lanes on Elm Street. Some, I believe, information came from regional planning, and there's a considerable amount of use of the bike lanes along Elm Street from, say, for instance, Bridge to, or not Bridge, but like Lake up to Willow and Queen City in that area. The Southern New Hampshire has done some studies out there in terms of counts and things along those lines.
In with respect to Alderman Morgan, I know we're doing it in piecework, or it feels like that, but it's probably the best way to do it, because if you do it all at once, it could be a little bit more confusing. I think what we did was, and it was only Beach and Maple Street that we used. It actually gave us, at least it gave us an idea of how things are going to work, how they're working out and everything. I think initially I was like kind of airy about it, but I think they're working out well. I think it's beneficial to the people that are using bikes to get to and from work. Some people don't drive, some people don't like to drive, and they'd rather use their bikes. So I think this just gives them the opportunity to get out and keep the downtown not congested,
Yeah, I will say that the DPW, when we look at inclusions of a bike lane or a recommendation of that we're looking at not at the detriment of the traveling public in terms of the motorists. So that's specifically why a lot of folks wanted those bike lanes on the tree streets on Maple Beach, Chestnut, and Pine to extend south of Bridge Street. But because of the antiquated signal systems that we have out there and the volume of traffic at that time, until such improvements that could be made along those stretches, that the motoring public needed both lanes in order to handle that traffic volumes. But again, specifically on this one for Pine, Pine has less traffic. Pine and Chestnut have less traffic than Beach and Maple, and Beach and Maple have been working sufficiently over the last 4 or 5 years to be able to handle the traffic. I just drove it on my way here, and the difference between Pine and these other ones is Pine, everyone's kind of jockeying for position, whereas those other ones in those sections seem to be traffic still flowing smoothly, but in a more orderly manner.
Alderman Goonan?
Thank you, Chairman. From a safety perspective, as far as accidents go, has that single lane made any difference? It seems like it's easier, certainly easier to park or safer to park.
So, yeah, I mean, it allows, you know, number one, as long as people are paying attention even to the bicycles, but with the bike lane, you're required to basically have a buffer zone as well, so that somebody's not just simply opening their door out and creaming somebody that's riding down the road on a bicycle. Whereas right now with the 2 lanes and stuff, anybody that's parking on Pine Street and is trying to get out of their vehicle, especially where that parking you're exiting your vehicle directly into traffic, it's a dangerous situation, and you're correct that when a bike lane is instituted in there, there's going to be a buffer area between the bike lane and the parked cars, so even when somebody gets out of their vehicle who's parking on Pine Street, they're not going to be in conflict with either the bicyclist or the vehicle driving on Pine Street, similar to what's happening now on Beach and Maple and Chestnut.
Alderman Cantor? You sure?
Hi. How many bikers did you see on the way here?
Did I see on the way here? Well, it was raining out. I didn't see a whole lot.
Yeah. I drive all the time. I'm like, I never see bicycles. And I hear from so many people, we do not see the bicycles. And it's so dangerous at those intersections. With the beginning of Maple Street, at the end of Maple Street, constituents aren't that happy with them. So there's a lot of people that are not for the bike lanes. To me, the flow of traffic is really important, and to make sure people's safety is good too. I mean, I think we should be taking care of the sidewalks.
So I'm not certain, but I believe that, and again, maybe another chief's back there. I don't believe sidewalks are able to be used on our bicycles would be able to be used on a sidewalk. And relative to the study that was done when Maple was switched over, the number of accidents that occurred after the implementation of the bike lane actually was a reduction.
You know what, maybe that's the case, but I do know on Hanover Street, we have accidents all the time getting onto 93. And what I find unbelievable is the police do not make a record of all the accidents unless they are over a certain amount of money. So not everything is recorded. So the data is not really actually factual. That's the problem.
Gotcha.
And I think that we need more people, more concerned citizens to come to this committee to talk about things because, it's just, I don't see the bicycle. And
This study was approved in 2019, correct?
Correct.
What's the cost on this project?
So again, this is being repaved anyway as part of the normal resurfacing, so that's why it's critical to get an answer kind of sooner than later as to whether or not this committee and ultimately the board
Right.
is in favor of this. Because in reality, the additional cost for it is going to be negligible because we need to stripe out there anyway. It's just a matter of how we stripe it and where we put the lines.
Okay. I'll just add too, I get people opening their doors at the traffic. If you drive anywhere down Ward 11, you could drive down Heavey, Rimmon, Dubuque. I don't think anybody ever opens their door without risk but we can't afford bike lanes in our lane, so. Is there a motion on this? Because I feel like we could just keep going back and forth, so. You want to make a motion?
I just made one discussion point.
All right, and then Alderman Barry make a discussion point, and then we'll make a motion.
I just got another thing to say. Caleb and the chiefs here also. My understanding is, and I think I've spoken with Kristen, the amount of, the speeds have gone down,
Correct.
you know?
Right, because you don't have sorry to interrupt, you don't have the cars jockeying for
Right.
position in the 2 lanes. So with a single lane, you're reduced to following whoever happens to be in front of you.
And just for a little background, when I was growing up, Maple and Beach were 2 ways at one time. Then they went to 1 ways, and a lot of people were against that. And then when they became 2 lanes, 1 way, people were complaining about the speeding. Now, when we put the bicycle lanes from Bridge to Webster and on both Beach and Maple, people in Ward 2, I know have been really happy because the amount of cars speeding up and down Maple and Beach Streets have gone down quite a bit. So, thank you.
Thank you.
So I think So what we're talking here is that, obviously, Alderman Cantor, to your point, is that there's many that you think don't want
Yeah,
bike.
they think it's
Okay.
a joke.
And so, to Alderman Barry's point, I think there's quite a few that do. So
Yeah.
my point is, let's vet this out, and let's let the city, the people, decide on whether we want to become a bike community. So my motion would be to table this, bring in the key stakeholders such as DPW, MeDo, bring in the planning, and let's work together to see if Manchester wants to be a bike community. And if we do, and it's overwhelming, then we move forward and we fully support it. But I think if we're going to keep, I think that we up here have different views, so I'd like to see the people make a decision via the survey or the discussion. That's all I'm saying, because I think there are people out there that use bikes and want this very much. And so,
And I think it's really important to have a full plan during the winter, because we are not Florida. So you can't see the lines on the road and concerned about, the snow plows and everything. We need we're Four Seasons.
So I get the motions on the floor by Alderman Morgan. Is there a second to that motion?
What was the motion again?
motion is to table this with the understanding that we're going to put a working group together of key city stakeholders such as DPW, economic development, planning, to go out and do the survey, talk to people in the community about the bike lanes and the plan in general. And if we can do that over the next month or 2 or 3 or whatever, and come back with a study that says, city wants this, people want this, or they don't want it, either way.
I think we should have some concerned citizens on the committee.
That's fine.
Besides,
We can do that too.
So I just want to point out the fact that we are right now scheduled to pave Pine Street at some point in the upcoming months. And again, the window of opportunity to do this restriping would be subsequent to the actual paving and prior to the striping. So depending on how long this, and I'm not certainly disagreeing with you, Alderman, but depending on how long this ends up taking, the question is do we delay paving on Pine Street for another year while this group decides relative, or if there's any way to expedite the decision for Pine Street?
Well, you can pave without this motion, right?
We can pave it, but it's the striping part. If we went and striped the 2 lanes and then the decision was to add the bike lane, then there's going to be additional costs that's going to be involved with that.
That's understood. But, I mean, striping is not something that's going to be a tremendous amount of cost. If we
I'd have to check with the traffic engineer and make sure that the lane widths and everything would match up by just simply taking a lane away.
Okay.
I just want to, can I make one comment? Concerned about the speeding and so forth. I mean, we can create a revenue stream of ticketing more people to control the speeding. When there's consequences, there's, people do slow down.
Yeah, outside of DPW.
Okay, I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No opposed?
Motion passes.
Motion passes.